Hey everybody, I hope you all are having an amazing day today. A quick reminder, I have not been putting out much on my channel recently. I've been doing a lot more like character wars and death battle predictions, and let alone even still like the character war that I was planning on doing, Ken Masters versus Blaziken. One of the characters, Ken Masters, the Street Fighter character versus the Pokemon character, does not have many footage for me to use, like gifs or videos that I could use. I don't claim ownership of them. None of the images I claim ownership in my videos are mine, except for the ones that I've created, like the thumbnail you're seeing here. Um, yeah, so that would probably take a fair time. I should have it by maybe next weekend, maybe tomorrow. Really depends. I'll make an announcement. But in the meantime, I thought I'm gonna do another review. I haven't done another review in like 2 months, if you exclude my top 10 one in death battles. So I thought of this idea recently at dinner with my fam, and let's just talk about it. So we're talking about DC and Marvel superheroes, and a fair amount of other ones. Um, yeah, I mean, really, DC and Marvel superheroes are amazingly iconic. And like whether you're a comic book fan or just an everyday moviegoer, these characters are really iconic. And obviously, they have their own movies. That's a way for people who aren't familiar with the characters from the comics to be familiar with the characters in the comics. Just another formation of that. And it's really helpful as you gotta love the movie characters. You gotta, love the representation that the writers and so on were going for. So today we're going to be talking about my top seven favorite superhero actors. So what qualifies on this list? Well, honestly, the top seven superhero actors, that's like a pretty generalistic term. I may create a separate rule. The first one is that we're only doing superhero actors. We're going to be doing a super villains in the next list. And in reality, while I do love their super villains, I just feel like now we need to focus on superheroes, and then we'll do that in the next list. Number two, it's all my opinion. It's really not, the general idea. I mean, maybe it is, I'm not sure, but this is all really just up to me. And number three is that one superhero with multiple actors is included. Yeah, just felt like it. And number four, anti-heroes are welcomed on this list. There'll be two, and we will talk about them in a bit, just to get that out of the way. All right, and with that out of the way, let's get started. Top 7 best superhero actors. Number 7, Patrick Stewart as Professor X. Patrick Stewart has had a lot of different roles in the past. He's played in Star Trek, a number of other drama-based movies, but in my opinion, as a comic book fan, his portrayal as Professor X has been the best the character has seen. Even though the character has not seen much, he is a very much difficult character to sort of captivate. He's got a hidden backstory, but is a mentor, like Professor Ozpin from Ruby, or Kakashi from Naruto, or basically almost any mentor you can think of. He has quite a lot of history. And Professor X, the father of the mutants, the X-Men, not of the mutants, my bad, the mutants in the X-Men, is an amazing character to captivate. And Professor X, Patrick Stewart did an amazing job. The fact that I had to misplace his name as Professor X just shows how well he did. He did great with Cerebro. He did great with his role and his dynamic with Magneto in the chess. He did great captivating his role and linking it with James McAvoy's younger portrayal of the character. They did an amazing job. The way that he portrayed and learned about every character, Beast, Wolverine, everyone, and the way he did in Logan was just really well done. He was a very an amazingly well done actor as Professor X. Whether it be just X-Men, X2, Days of Future Past, or Logan, Patrick Stewart shined in this role. He did an amazingly well done job. And it really made me watch more X-Men films. Number 6, Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman as a character, believe it or not, has not had much screen time as a character. And she deserves a lot more. She's one of the biggest faces of DC and superheroes themselves. An inspiring role model for a lot of women-based superheroes, as there are not many. There deserve to be a lot more. Wonder Woman is an amazingly well done character, and right before Gal Gadot's portrayal, there was the cartoon of Linda Carter's portrayal. And she did an amazingly job as well, but she didn't captivate the full violence and action that Wonder Woman was capable of. And Gal Gadot did an amazingly well done job when the DCEU was facing a little bit of, sad criticism. Gal Gadot brought it up with her Wonder Woman film. She did an amazingly well done job. The portrayal of her character, the dynamic between her and Steve, and the dynamic between her and Themyscira, the fighting style, that could have been the choreographer, but that really mixed with Wonder Woman extremely well. Her sort of leadership role, as she was like the pure of heart one, really played into it well. And whether you liked Wonder Woman and Wonder Woman 84 or thought one was better than the other or disliked them, you can't ignore the fact that Gal Gadot did her best, and she was amazingly well done in those two roles. And I'm really excited to see more of her. Even if Wonder Woman 1984 was pretty much disliked, and I will say myself, I was not the biggest fan of the movie, Gal Gadot still put a lot of heart and soul into the role and really made me believe, wow, this actor is Diana Prince. Number 5, Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn. This is the anti-hero on the list if you're wondering. Yes, this and another, but let's just get into the list, okay? Harley Quinn did not have much of a role before Margot Robbie, aside from just being the Joker's girlfriend. She did have a couple runs, but until that character was portrayed, Harley Quinn was just considered to be the Joker's girlfriend, and that's it. After Margot Robbie's portrayal, Harley Quinn became a lot more famous. She obviously got her own rebirth and New 52 series. Even though Suicide Squad came after New 52. It doesn't matter. She got her own series that's continuing now. She became the Deadpool comedy character of the DC universe. And she became one of the first bisexual characters to grace comic books, allowing and inspiring a lot of other characters. As well as having her own comedy series on DC Universe and HBO Max, which was really well done. I got to watch it. It was a really nice comedy series. It really gave me vibes of Rick and Morty. And none of that would have happened if it weren't for Margot Robbie. Margot Robbie did an amazingly well done job at being Harley Quinn. Even if the first Suicide Squad movie was mega trash, Margot Robbie still put a lot of heart and soul and was definitely the best actor amongst the roster of those characters. And that character leaked into so much more, including having her own portrayal in the Birds of Prey movie. Leaking into the Birds of Prey and the Fabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn, she did an even better job at that. The action scenes were really well done. Her craziness was really well done. Her comedy was shot at just the right moments. Her story was told really well, and she got to be her own character. She didn't need the Joker to decide who she was. Margot Robbie is Harley Quinn. She did a fantastic job at the role, and I can't wait to see her more in The Suicide Squad, and can't wait to see how not just her, but Harley Quinn as a character continues to grow. Number 4, Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool. This is not the first time Ryan Reynolds has graced the screen with a superhero presence. Most famously, he was in one of the good video game movies, Detective Pikachu, and did a very great job with that. He portrayed it in a very comedic way, and honestly, that movie was actually a really well done video game movie, much like the Mortal Kombat movie that I just saw. I might do a review on it. Green Lantern, on the other hand, it was meh. It had some redeeming qualities to it. I mean, it was colorful. Overall, Ryan Reynolds did not like being in the Green Lantern movie, so he went on to do a Marvel movie instead. And the Marvel character he played was Deadpool, the merc with a mouth. And obviously, it was Deadpool, is a pretty difficult character to captivate. He is a lot of mixed feelings. He's not just comedic, though that is his primary emotion. He's very violent, that's for sure. He can have moments of anger, he can have moments of comedy, but all of that is captivated by a kind of a line of violence. And his healing factor is really difficult to explore and go into. His relationship with a lot of superheroes, as he did literally just kill the entire Marvel Universe. So that's a little bit interesting. But Ryan Reynolds did a really well done job. He did it in such a comedic way. The fighting and the action was really well done, even though the choreographing was as was that's the choreographer. But he did really well with the fighting. He did really well with the healing factor. He did a really well job portraying the healing factor. He was comedic. He was funny. He was just a generally considered like a funny, like the Deadpool guy to choose. Like I wouldn't select any other actor to play Deadpool rather than Ryan Reynolds. This Deadpool is perfect. Oh, and this Deadpool is terrible. We are not going to talk about him. In my opinion, he's worse than Green Lantern. He can please go burn. I will not talk about him. Number 3, Christian Bale as Batman. So this was the actor I was going to pick to that had multiple actors. Batman is probably the most famous superhero to date, and honestly, he's extremely difficult to play. That's why the 6 actors, or 7 at this point, who have been playing Batman haven't captivated his entire character. Batman on his own has extremely mixed emotions. He's very angry sometimes, he has fear, he's a rich playboy, he's a detective, he's a mixed martial artist. It's really difficult to captivate all of it. And obviously, many Batman before him, like George Clooney, only portrayed one emotion properly. And characters like actors like Ben Affleck portrayed the violence really well, but they didn't go into some of the lighter sides of Batman. That, the morals of Batman. They just went into, like, the superhero powers of Batman, even though Batman doesn't have any powers. Christian Bale did this really well, and I know these movies weren't supposed to, be Batman movies. They were supposed to be realistic, and Christian Bale did an amazing job with that, along with Christopher Nolan. This Batman was charismatic when he was Bruce Wayne. He was a detective. He was funny. And when he was Batman, it was like he was swapping emotions. His training, his effort, it showed that any human could do this the best way. Honestly, if you look at any other Batman movie, it doesn't say, like, oh, a human can't do this. But when you look at Christian Bale, it's like, oh, a human can. A normal person can. Christopher Nolan did an amazing job captivating it. The Dark Knight is one of my favorite movies ever. Maybe even my favorite. It's one of the only superhero movies to win an Oscar. Christian Bale did a fantastic job, a chef's kiss with this movie. He captivated every part about Batman. His detective work, his skill, every single part about Batman was done immensely well. And I know we're never going to see this guy again, but I hope Robert Pattinson does an amazing job the next time we see Batman. Number 2, Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. So Hugh Jackman is actually a very talented Broadway actor if you weren't familiar. And to play Wolverine, you need a lot of amazing emotions. Wolverine isn't just slash slash angry scream like Goku's like power up scream kind of. He's actually a lot of mixed emotions. He's a lot of sadness, he's got a lot of happiness, he has a lot of history. And Hugh Jackman did an amazing job playing him in not just some great Wolverine movies like Logan and X-Men. He did an amazing job playing Wolverine in some bad movies like X-Men Origins Wolverine and The Wolverine. Hugh Jackman did an amazingly job playing him. He's an extremely complicated character to play. His relationship with the X-Men, his relationship on his own, Alpha Flight, how his Canadian story, his relationship with the Hulk, with Captain America, even though they weren't there. That was just really well done. Hugh Jackman did an amazingly job playing it because this character is extremely complicated. He showed the emotion that this character could do. And the fighting scenes were just chef's kiss. They were really well done. Take a look at the anger you see in Hugh Jackman's eyes here. He looks genuinely angry. He looks like really sad. And this moment right here with them, with X-23, that looks genuinely sad. I mean, Logan is probably one of my favorite movies ever. And obviously that ending scene with the cross when she flipped it over and made it the X. That was just too sad. I cried during that moment. That was just absolutely amazing. Wolverine as a character means a lot to a lot of people. He's one of the most famous Marvel superheroes ever. And he needs to be. I mean, this character really needs more screen time. He is such an amazing character. And I can't imagine any other actor playing him other than Hugh Jackman. Every time I see Hugh Jackman in another movie, when I saw him in The Greatest Showman, I wasn't the biggest fan of that movie because musicals don't really appeal to me all too much when I watch them on big screens. Every time I see Hugh Jackman in another film, I think of, that's the Wolverine. That's the Wolverine. Nothing else. Alright, before we get to our number one, let's discuss a couple honorable mentions that barely made it on here. Ron Perlman as Hellboy. He did really well in the movies, but the other actors here just had a better quantity of films and had a bit better acting, though I did feel like he did an amazing job. Chris Evans as Captain America, really well done, but just barely off the list. I just prefer these actors a little bit more, just barely. The next one, Jackie Earle Haley as Rorschach. Really well done. I really liked the Watchmen movie. I was a big fan of the original comic, and I felt like he did an amazingly well done job. Just barely off the list. Chris Hemsworth as Thor, also barely off the list. He did a really well job in every movie he was in. He portrayed the god really well in the first two, and did a very well comedic new version of Thor in Thor Ragnarok, which I just felt was a stellar film. Chris Pratt as Star-Lord, amazingly well done comic relief for the MCU. Introduced the Guardians of the Galaxy in a new, fresh way. Really nicely done. He did amazing. Chef's Kiss. I keep doing that in this episode, I know. Michael Keaton as Batman. Just a little bit under Christian Bale, in my opinion. Who knows what happens with Robert Pattinson. We might see Michael Keaton again in the new Flashpoint movie. Again, no promises. I'm not a movie expert here. Really well done. Scarlett Johansson as Black Widow. Also amazingly well done. I can't wait to see her solo film. She did amazing in the Black Widow representation in a couple movies. And did great job. And finally, Chadwick Boseman as Black Panther. Sadly, may he rest in peace, we did not get to see his full potential on the screen, but I'm really proud that I got to see him. He was a just amazingly well done actor. Portrayed Black Panther amazingly well. And with that out of the way, let's get on to our number one pick. Number one, Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man. This should come as no surprise to anyone. Robert Downey Jr. is an extremely charismatic and talented actor in his own right. He puts a lot of love into every role he's been in. He's been in a lot of amazing roles, a lot of war movies, and he's played Sherlock Holmes, one of the greatest detectives ever. But what character did he put the most charisma in? Well, maybe I'm just biased because I'm a comic book fan, but I thought he put a lot of love into Iron Man. He did a fantastic job. Iron Man as a character didn't have much, fans in the comics before this movie came out. Robert Downey Jr. did exceptional. He did stellar. He put an amazing job in the suits, even though they were designed by him. He put a lot of love into the characters, a lot of moral in the characters, a lot of, how he was just like a rich person and went on to become a self-sacrificing hero, a person who sold money into a person who sold peace. I wrote that down. I didn't know if I said that right. But the point is, Robert Downey Jr. did amazing as Iron Man. He was comedic. He was fun. He showed the morals, the effort, the skill, the constant training as Tony Stark, because Tony Stark built this in a cave with a box of scraps. Yes, I wanted to say that. Tony Stark, as he did this, he did amazing. He did really well. He is Iron Man. I can't imagine any other Iron Man other than Robert Downey Jr. He did exceptional. A flawless 10 out of 10. So what do you guys think? Do you agree with my list? Do you disagree with my list? Do you have other picks that you would like to go into? Did I not mention your picks at all throughout this video? Let me know in the comments down below. As always, I will be releasing new character wars every Sunday. In case you guys were wondering, yes, that's what I'll be doing. I release Death Battle predictions a day, normally after they come, unless I have a lot of free time, which I can release it right after they come. And obviously, tune in more for other reviews. Let me know in the comments what you want to see. Enjoy yourselves. Have a great time. And I will see you all in the next video. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram. Alright? Later.